Welcome, genetically modified locust, to Geek Salad retro movie reviews. Yeah, from the Geek Salad podcast, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we conclude June-rassic month with our look of the 3 Jurassic World movies. And just like before, we have a very special guest. Tonight we are featuring Mr. Derek Jones, one half of the Midnight Myth podcast. Welcome back, Derek. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Thank you so much for having me. Really happy to be here. Sorry, my wife Laurel couldn't make it. Let's talk Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah, let's do that. Now, I was thinking about this today. I was actually at the doctor's for most of the morning today, so I had a lot of time to think about like how I wanted to present this. And usually, like with your podcast, The Midnight Myth, y'all are overwhelmingly positive about movies. You tend to choose movies where you really have some enjoyment whatsoever of here.
Oh, so that's going around. Yeah.
So I think that we are getting Dark Universe Derek here.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, man, what were your thoughts on Dominion?
I didn't see it in the theater. I saw the first movie of the trilogy in the theater. I saw the second one streaming. I forget when, where, and how, and made the decision that I would not see any more of these movies. That I was just kind of done with the franchise.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you reached out. I'm like, great, let's do it. I watched it. My first thought was when I turned on the movie and I saw that the runtime was 2 hours and 26 minutes was vomit. It's like, why is this movie? I literally put in the notes vomit emoji that I took. I really thought very long and hard about what I liked about this movie. And I really wanted to start with the positives that I thought were there.
Absolutely.
One, I'm a sucker for nostalgia. Many of us are. Jurassic Park is one of the cinematic events of my life. It's one of the reasons I love movies. And so a lot of seeing these characters back was really great. I thought that was really cool. I kind of enjoyed, I would say, meta Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum playing Jeff Goldblum, playing Dr. Ian Malcolm. And I thought that was a interesting, Jeff Goldblum, you just do you.
Yeah.
And it was great. Could have used more of that. I thought when this movie decided it wanted to lean into more horror tropes, it was actually pretty scary. When we first saw the locust, I was like, that's not good. That's really terrifying. The scene where Dr. Grant and Dr. Ellie are trapped after they leave the pod and these lizards are coming through the tunnels. I thought that was really, really gripping and really, really engaging. And I was really terrified for the characters. I like it when gigantic lizards are fighting each other. So the big lizard battle at the end was good. That's about all I can say about the good of this movie.
Yeah. So I agree with you on all those aspects. Now I got back to actually grading movies on Letterboxd, and I gave Dominion 1.5 stars. And frequent collaborator to the show, Kurt Smith, was asking what that extra half a star was for. And it primarily, Kurt, I did say I was going to make you wait until we did this episode. It's your reasoning behind let Jeff Goldblum just be Jeff Goldblum. I felt like they could have had anybody play the Ian Malcolm that was in Fallen Kingdom. This was more the leather jacket, sunglasses, womanizing smartass that we've known to love. And we did get more of that in here. I feel like the callbacks, and I was been thinking this since the trailer for Dominion came out, was that they had so little faith in Owen and Claire. I mean, last week, I made it a point to remember their names this week. Last week, I couldn't be bothered to remember their names. But they are so dang. I was hoping you'd say it was BD Wong's hockey hair. Oh, well, we're getting to BD. We got to get to BD at some point.
Yeah.
I feel like they have so little faith that people, those characters never resonated with anybody. And they're like, okay, we got to go out. This is a trilogy. We got to go out strong. What the hell? Bring back a 65-year-old Sam Neill and a 55-year-old Laura Dern and the ageless Jeff Goldblum. Let's bring the band back together. And I just felt like, yeah, I the nostalgia kind of touched me a little bit, mainly because I think Ian Malcolm is one of the most fun 90s movies characters ever. I mean, we commend Jurassic Park because of its just the earth-shattering special effects. Especially, I watched it again with my kids over the weekend, and every time that Brontosaurus comes up, I'm like, God damn it, I wish I could have showed this to you in a movie theater. I wish your first time would have been in a movie theater instead of on like a 42-inch screen. Because it just was breathtaking. But outside of that, Jeff Goldblum's a fantastic character. Ian Malcolm is a great character in Jurassic Park. He's fun in Dominion. The less said about The Lost World, the better.
Yeah.
But that's just because The Lost World was oddly better than the book, but only marginally.
Yeah.
It took 4 years for the movie to come out, so it wasn't exactly shat out like the Crichton book was. Mike, how about you? What are your just initial thoughts before we get into the minutia here?
Well, much like Derek, I saw Jurassic World in theater. I thought I was going to see Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom in theater.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Yeah, this guy decided to take me to my 40th birthday party instead of...
and it was a surprise.
He told me, we're going to go see it in a really nice theater. I even bought this shirt for it.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so I ended up seeing that on streaming, and I saw Dominion for the first time last night. And who's got 2 thumbs and loved the movie? This guy.
Really?
Oh, I had so much. Is it a perfect movie? But not by a long shot.
Okay.
Was the villain completely superfluous to the movie? Absolutely. I loved Ellie. I love seeing Laura Dern again. I love seeing Ian Malcolm again. Jeff Goldblum. I love seeing Sam Neill as Alan Grant again. Did Alan Grant have anything to do in this movie? Nah, not really.
Not really, no.
Did I still have fun watching him interact with Owen and Claire, who I do love, and I loved Maisie. Absolutely. I had so much fun with this movie that all the flaws, I'm like, yeah, was it a perfect movie? Not by a long shot. Did I have a whole lot of fun watching it? Absolutely.
No, that's good. We've had that. All right, Mike. Glad I'm not the only one who loved it. Oh, okay, Kurt. I got from your asking me about the 1.5 stars what the half star meant. I figured you didn't like it, but that's just interpretation. We have this dialogue.
For me, this movie, I after the end, I was like thinking back on it. I was like, all right, this part didn't work. This part didn't work. But wait, oh my word! I was like, this movie was Jurassic Park meets a kaiju movie. Are there kaiju? Are there human people in like kaiju movies like Godzilla? Absolutely. Yeah. Do they? Are you really interested in them? No, not really. You interested in them seeing them run away from all the monsters, and that's what this movie was, and that's what I got in spades. So I was happy.
Okay.
Wow. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming either. I actually, because he was radio silent yesterday.
Yeah.
Because usually I'll get a couple of texts about certain things about the movie. He was completely silent yesterday.
On purpose. Because I didn't know how, I knew how you felt about it, and I wanted to keep you guessing about how I felt about it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think to me there was no time in the movie where I felt like it wasn't another script for another thing, and they just went and did Control F, and then Control F, and then replace, such and such character with Owen or Claire or Dr. Grant, because I don't know. And Derek, your thoughts on this as well. There are times I don't know if this movie doesn't feel like it knows what it wants to be. Because we go from, first of all, a very brief period of how do the humans work with, live with the dinosaurs. And it's not, I feel like they teased us in Fallen Kingdom for it. Maybe about 5 minutes of overall, dinosaurs in the wild. We get a couple of statistics. Only 38 people have been killed in 4 years.
I do love how it opens with that newspaper reporter, that television reporter was basically last time on Jurassic World.
Yeah. So like a note I put in, it's an hour and 45 minutes until all the main characters get together.
Yeah.
And I think that's like from just a pure, I have a 2-year-old, I have a very busy job. If you're expecting to hold my attention and you want me to get an hour and 45 minutes till all the main characters get together, it better be like Fellowship of the Ring. Like it's got to be really great quality. Like I can't miss a second of this. So I think one of the reasons I didn't like it is I actually had to break it up into 2 nights because I couldn't finish the first night. I'm just like, I looked up to my wife and I'm like, how much time is left? An hour? I'm like, I got to go to bed. I'm sorry. I just have to.
Yeah.
I think if you look at Jurassic Park was clearly not just a blockbuster, but had some ideas. It was saying things. It was saying things about humans advancing science for profit and dabbling to things before they understood the moral and philosophical implications of that. And because of that, you're destined to go awry.
Yeah.
This movie, I think, of all the Jurassic Park movies that I've seen, has the least to actually say about anything. And I think the biggest symbol of that is the locusts. I get it, plague of locust, it's biblical, it signifies the end of the world, but why did evil Tim Cook make the locusts? I don't know. I don't to try to cause the end of the world because that helps his especially when we've got now a long line of people tinkering with genetics and it going wrong. So if you're trying to protect quarterly profits, you should know that Cretaceous locust is bad for your business, right?
Right.
We should know that. How many big technological firms have been destroyed in this world because they over dabbled? So I think this movie wants us to feel nostalgia. It wants to feel epic and big, but where I think it essentially fails in the story to me is that it's essentially about nothing. It is a hour and 45-minute long rabbit chase that's part James Bond, part kaiju, part action, to get all of these characters in one spot. And by the time we get these characters into one spot, which is what we want to see, is all these characters together, it's essentially over. And I also think you're right too, Andy. The miss was what was teased, what could have been interesting is it's now a world with humans and dinosaurs. What does that mean? And from the get-go, it introduces that theme, ignores it, and then in a montage at the end says, oh, we just need to be nice now.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look, there are some Compasauruses just kind of playing with kids right now.
That wasn't a compy. Come on.
It was something. It looked like a compy. I know compies are bad. But yeah, you're right about. So first of all, I love that. You had mentioned Campbell Scott as being evil Tim Cook. I really feel like because I feel like that was the image, his visage, because of the way that Campbell Scott looks. It was easier to make him look like one of the heads of Apple, to give him the turtleneck and the glasses and just like that weird food thing. He always had to eat those protein bars. That was like every time you see him eating, he's eating one of those protein bars. Kind of like how Steve Jobs would only eat one thing, like completely. It's kind of like he's more like that, even though when the movie was released, it's almost like he might actually be an Elon Musk person who thinks he's got these amazing ideas, like the locust, when instead they could have been using that, the ability to modify genetics, to clone, to maybe create crops and make your riches that way. We have this soil that has been genetically altered to help grow better crops, to do something like that instead of they're going to destroy everybody else's crops who don't use our feed or whatever the hell that was. And the other thing too is that using the dinosaur refuge as like a subterfuge for the whole thing. It was like, what was even the point of this? You know, we have to do everything, but we have to do this in this insanely dangerous place where we have so many carnivores, and so many offshoots of T-Rex. I couldn't. So, I mean, my dinosaur knowledge is very limited to the dinosaurs I've seen in Jurassic Park, and like the dinosaurs that didn't show up in Jurassic Park that I was pissed about not showing up in Jurassic Park, like the Stegosaurus. All-time favorite dinosaur as a kid. But like, what was that thing? The big hairy thing that did give me a bit of tension when he was chasing after Claire. What was that? Like the one with the nails.
The hairy one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was. I believe that was a Therizinosaurus.
Okay. Do they have any basis in actual like?
I mean, they were real.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was asking. You know, between that and the T-Rex taking down, I think I would just want to call it Carnosaurus because
Gigantosaurus.
Gigantosaurus.
It's spelled Giganotosaurus, but they pronounce it Giganotosaurus. But yeah, I mean,
Gigantor.
I will say this one was the first one since Jurassic Park 3 that they did not have any made up dinosaurs. These were all actual. Well, they had the locusts.
Okay.
These were all actual.
I can give it credit for that.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I'm happy that Blue was able to asexually reproduce. Something they never bring up other than like just to remind. They barely reminded us of that. And again, watching Jurassic Park last week, and I brought this up with Thomas last week about the lysine contingency. How did they just forget about it? It just?
Yeah,
they did.
They forgot about it, kind of like they forgot about several supporting characters in this movie. I was happy to see that Omar Sy's character came back from Jurassic World, but as soon as he's there, he's forgotten. There's that woman whose name I can't be bothered to remember.
Yeah.
She's there, and then she's arrested, and that's it.
Gone.
And she was a cool villain.
Menacing.
Oh, her.
Yeah, her, the blonde.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking this is like a James Bond meets dinosaur, like, okay, here's a good, super villain, and in and then gone. Same with the there's like the bounty hunter guy. He seemed a little menacing, in and then gone, because like all of those were just stepping stones to get Owen and Claire and Ellie and Dr. Grant all in one spot. Like those were just. And that the whole movie is trying to fix a problem of how do we get these players, all these characters into one place, instead of saying, well, let's actually tell a story. Like, why don't you just try a simple 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end? I had totally forgotten the clone character, completely blank from my memory.
Maisie?
Yeah, and the implications of that for like. Oh wow, we can clone a human so that they can not have any disease ever, is something that you could be playing with in the themes of like we can eradicate disease. There could be a consequence with that. She could have come into her power, but no, we get Chris Pratt using the Jedi mind trick on velociraptors for way too long. Just way too.
And that brought up and I brought this up last week, but the meme they have of him, they have the still of him holding his hand out to the dinosaur, and then the picture below it is the green screen, and there's a dinosaur looking at a tennis ball on a stick.
I just don't understand. Chris Pratt is a very charismatic man. He carries the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, like a franchise that I love, and I love so much because one of the main reasons because he's such a charismatic actor, full of personality and boyish charm, and they just like squeeze all of that out of him just so that he could stare at raptors with his hand out. And I'm just watching this, and I started actually laughing I started chuckling as I was watching it. And I'm just like, does he have dinosaur telepathy? Like, what is this?
Walks with raptors. He's been living among them for so long that.
Well, and then he got Grant and the clone teenager to do it. So
yeah.
like at the end, they're all three of them are like locking into the raptors, and I'm like,
well,
but here's one thing. Don't the velociraptors flank you? Isn't that a whole thing that they flank you? They've got
clever girl.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to flank when there's only one.
Well, there were the other. So here's the thing: there were the other raptors that Spy Lady brought out that are apparently as fast as motorcycles, and that whole chase scene was like, I've seen this chase scene done just by Daniel Craig multiple times and done better. And that didn't have if I described to both of you, sight unseen, hey, there's this amazing scene where James Bond is being chased on a motorcycle by dinosaurs, you might be like, that actually sounds pretty cool. I want to watch that. And it just felt like it was, and a lot of it too is the way Colin Trevorrow shot the movie. It was just like, it was awash in DC's yellow-brown filters. And this movie was, just in terms of cinematography itself, dark. There were times, especially after they got out of that pod and going through the tunnels and all that, it was very hard to figure out what was going on because it was so dark. The entire thing of them being chased by Carnitasaur.
Dimetrodons.
What's that?
In the mines?
Not in the mines. No, in the when they're being chased up that ladder to get to the control booth.
Oh yeah, the Gigantosaurus.
Yeah, Gigantosaurus, Gigantor, space age robot. It's just like we've seen this before. It's dark. I'm having difficulty seeing what's going on. I can't keep a track of who's already gotten up the ladder. And it's just this loop of peril that just keeps happening and happening. And even though they're safe, they're not really safe, but not safe in like a good way. Safe and kind of like that was just a contrivance just to put them back into danger.
So you mean just like a kaiju movie?
I don't know. I feel like in a kaiju are too big. Like, you remember the old Godzilla ad, right? The Godzilla 98 ad where they had the dinosaur skeleton.
Hey, we don't speak about Godzilla 98.
Hey, M just did an hour on it, so
yeah,
we kind of have to talk about it.
No, M can talk about it.
Well, M can talk about it. But I refer you back to the trailer, though, because I'm sure you remember the teaser trailer where there's the T-Rex skeleton in the museum, and then the foot comes down on it, and it's enormous because Godzilla is supposed to be the size of a building. I mean, most of the T-Rexes, the Gigantosaur, the furry dude with the nails, Drag Queenosaurus. I'm good with that. Fabulosaurus, especially because after he like just sinks his nails into that thing at the end. They're what, 3, 4, maybe 5 stories tall.
Yeah. Not
like skyscraper tall, like a kaiju. A kaiju, it's tough to outrun because you can only run as wide and as long as their foot is, or as far as their atomic breath, or whatever it is that Rodan emanates from his wingspan.
Tornado things. I don't know.
It's something. I just remember it from Godzilla King of the Monsters, which, by the way, is very stupid and underrated, and I really enjoy that movie.
Same, absolutely.
That's the kind of movie that, like, I got what Mike got out of Dominion. It was fun for my son to watch these movies because my son is now getting into that ability to watch more mature movies. I mean, it's not like he's sitting next to me watching RoboCop or anything like that. But
you're not that much of a bad father.
My wife would murder me. But watching Dominion and just watching like the dinosaurs get all crazy and tear people up. And that was the other thing too, is that there wasn't a whole lot of like dino death in this movie. I mean, Campbell Scott's character gets eaten by the Dilophosaur. Is it Dilophosaur?
Dilophosaurus, yeah.
The Nedry killers.
Yeah, the spitters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, like, I'd be with you, Mike, if there were more dinosaurs in this. Like, I feel like there is a shockingly little amount of dinosaur in this movie, and I had a lot of runtime of chasing and spy espionage, and if this movie were really just about people being chased by dinosaurs the whole time, or 90% of it, I think I'd be like, I'm shutting my brain off, and this is awesome.
Yeah.
I just feel like the movie didn't really deliver those goods to me. The movie spent way too much time in subplot, exposition, and
I've seen a lot of kaiju movies where they spend a good hour just dealing with the human characters until they finally get to the big giant monster fight at the end.
You mean Godzilla 2014?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So all right, so here's my thought on that. I feel like this was a movie that had a villain that did not need a villain. This could have easily been, we need to fix something that went wrong. Even if it was, say Campbell Scott was creating the Locust just as like a sustainable food source to feed these dinosaurs that he's brought on there, but they escape. That at least gets you a whole thing. Maybe there's a cover-up, but he's not like some twisted maniac who is going to starve the world, with his gigantic army of locusts, where he just stands on a precipice and raises his hands, and then all of a sudden these legion of locusts just kind of fly out. I felt like they spent way too much time on the locusts. Anybody who's a fan of dinosaurs doesn't care about the giant bugs. There are movies for it. There are kaiju movies for that, Mike. Mothra.
The locusts were they were the MacGuffin of this movie. They really had no point other than what drives the plot forward. That's it.
Yeah. I think this movie felt like it was selling me something it could never deliver on. The amount of characters. We talked about a couple of them whose names I now have to pull up here. Franklin and Zia. Zia especially. Perfectly good character in Fallen Kingdom. One scene, you're done. Franklin, one scene, you're done.
2 scenes.
Omar Sy's character. Barry.
Yeah.
Okay. And even BD Wong just kind of like appears out of nowhere. It's like everything's happening, and all of a sudden, puff of smoke. Here he is with his hockey hair.
I like that they gave Doctor Wu kind of almost a redemption arc in this one, because basically from Jurassic World and all the way into this one, he's been the one that kind of like pushing the envelope. It's like, you're just paying me. I'm just making the science. Here, he's finally realized, you know what? I've gone too far. These locusts, they're not right. I need to fix this.
You know what? I know. I was so busy wondering if I could. I never once stopped to ask myself if I should.
Yep.
Science.
It took him a long time.
Not shoulda.
He read Malcolm's book, and it changed him.
Exactly. Chaos theory. If anything, anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
So I'll say one thing that I'm struggling with too is the character Claire. We are introduced to a very different Claire in the beginning of this movie, who's stealing dinosaurs. She's an activist. She's driving the truck through the fence. She's like, I'm pushing no boundaries. And then it sidelines her into, I'm a scared mom / damsel in distress. It's like, Andy, you mentioned the likability of these characters. Why should I care if Claire's in peril in this movie? I don't really believe her as a mother, because they kind of set her up as like, I don't want kids, like I'm not a mom. I'm a corporate person in the first movie of the trilogy. Now she's a mom for a character that I had forgotten even existed. So, and so And I feel like this character made a step forward. Oh, okay, you are a dinosaur environmental activist. You are tough. And then they immediately have her, now that she's in North Africa, being like, oh, you don't belong here. You're too gentle. And they like relegated her back to being more of a damsel for Owen to save. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't you interject some agency for this character to go out and actually do something? You start with that. You start with a character who's capable, who's able to do something, and then by the end, Owen's just like, I'm going to pull the parachute for you. Best of luck. Hi. And I'm like, they robbed this character of her agency, so it's like it's hard to really identify with her. It's hard to really want to go on her journey. And like her and Owen, even though we have the original cast back, this really should have been the close of their story. Like we've been through 3 movies with them. I don't think I understand these characters any better. I don't think I know what drives them. I don't think I know why they get up in the morning other than to go on adventures. And it feels so like sanitized and stripped down. And I think that whether it's a movie with monsters, dinosaurs, aliens, I could care less. If you give me characters that I can root for, that I'm on the journey with them, I'm going to go on that journey, even if it's the same journey I've seen before. Even if it's the exact same like story structure of another movie. If I like this character, I'm like, I don't care if it's beat for beat a remake of another story if I like the character. And I feel like that's where it was hard for me to care when these characters were in peril, because I'm like, do I know Claire? What is she about now?
I feel like Owen was reduced to parody at this point. He's the guy who sticks out his hand and the dinosaurs obey it. I think you're right about Claire. Claire exists solely to give, oh my God, I can't remember her name now. The child, Maisie. She primarily exists just to give her the mom talks. No, I can believe that after 4 years, of 2 people taking care of somebody, that you do, like the foster system, you grow to love these kids. And that I found that the family dynamic was believable. I just kind of, I feel like they did shed a lot of what made anything that made these characters interesting. Because again, I felt they were ciphers for other things. They could have easily just included them in one bit. They pass the information on to Laura Dern, or depending on if you think that maybe Admiral Akbar should have done it instead. They pass that information on to him, her, my God, and then she goes on that. And she enlists Grant, and we just follow the 3 characters, and then maybe we introduce some of the other characters as well, like Ramsey, like Kayla. We can introduce those characters, but I feel like they were just taking on as many people as possible. It reminds me of like when I was a kid and I used to get my Star Wars toys, and every time I got a new action figure, no matter how insignificant they played into the movie, they had to come along on all the adventures. And it was just like, I had the old school Kenner Millennium Falcon. I just had to grab hands full of figures, just drop them into the thing and fly away, because that's all I could do. It's like they took the Wampa on adventures because it was like I had the Wampa. I had to include them. And I feel, and I know that's a weird way to go with this, but I feel like it was just like, okay, these are the core characters from this movie coming into these core characters here, but we need to bring all these other we need to introduce other characters. Screw the other characters that people might have had any interest in from the other 2 movies, especially Zia. I loved Zia in Fallen Kingdom. And she's literally just there once, say something science-y.
Yeah. I completely get that Star Wars new toy, because I had the Ewok Village, and every time I got a new Star Wars toy, it went right on the Ewok Village.
Yep.
Yeah, I 100% got that metaphor, and yeah, I do agree, and like it kind of, in a weird way, it bums me out that this movie made over $1 billion, because there is.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, there's no incentive structure, monetarily to really be like, hey, let's make sure we tell a really great story. And and at the core of what made the original movie great was that Michael Crichton, brilliant storyteller with a really awesome idea, who blends sci-fi and fantasy and horror and combined them all in this really awesome book that was adapted by Steven Spielberg, one of the great storytellers who have ever lived, especially for cinema, right? Arguably the best cinematic storyteller of our time, maybe of all time. And they combined this team that they just really cared about. Let's bring dinosaurs to life. Let's bring these characters to life. This movie was just like, this is a cash grab. We don't really have a story to tell. So what are we going to do? Let's hire the original people from Jurassic Park and we'll make $1 billion. And that's what it did. And it worked. And like, it kind of bums me out that we live in this world where passable C- movies can be unbelievably successful if they're nostalgic for me as a child. Because I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, and for a long time, this probably would have worked on me if it wasn't for like the journey of going into Midnight Myth and critically thinking about media. I probably would have felt very differently.
Yeah.
This is years and years of just like looking at this differently as I have, trying to think, digging beneath the surface, and wanting desperately to be the guy that's like, what's the history, mythology, and philosophy of this movie? It's money, and like, it's just like.
Well, you did get the locust earlier. I'll fully give you the locust there. But what you're talking about, Mike, can you bring up Kurt's statement again?
Yep.
Thanks, Kurt. That's the current studio system for you, pumping out these assembly line to make a quick buck. Yeah, which is, there's 4 years in between this one and the previous one, but I feel that's more COVID driven than anything else. But yeah, I'm sorry, Derek. Continue your thought.
It's pretty much the end of the rant. It bums me out that we have the ability to mass market movies where dinosaurs and people can coexist in the same film, and this is the best that Hollywood can come up with. And
yeah,
all of these phenomenally talented people in this movie, because there's a lot of talent, both from the acting staff, from the visual effects staff. I love that some of these dinosaurs were practical. I loved that. You could see that, and you can really tell in the texture. And so they did make some practical dinosaurs, which is one of the things I loved about the original movie. Looking back, there is a blend of CGI and practical effects.
Yeah.
And so like, there's clearly some really great artistry behind it, but like, there was no guiding principle or soul to it other than, how do we make the most money out of this?
Yeah.
And it bums me out a little bit that there's going to be more movies like Jurassic World Dominion. I don't believe this is the end of the franchise at all. If it made $1 billion, they're like, well, let's make another one.
Yeah.
Well, the first one made like 1.6. The second one made 1.3. This one made 1.0. I think they're like, you know what? Let's pump the brakes, give it another like 10, 15 years, then we'll try it again.
Yeah, the funny thing about Dominion is I have no memory of this movie coming out, other than like that meme I mentioned earlier. I have very little memory of this movie actually being released to theaters. Nobody I knew went to go see it. And I mean, I know just because, the people I'm personally associated with don't go see a movie doesn't mean it can't make $1 billion. I don't know anybody who saw Despicable Me 3, and that thing made $1 billion. Did
it really? Wow.
And it's dreadful.
Yeah.
It is so, for a movie, it's so derivative. It's also under the same Universal Illumination wheelhouse, but yeah, it's dreadful and derivative and just not funny. But hey, got Minions, so it's $1 billion. Yeah. But and that's the thing, Mike. I think that we consider when a movie doesn't do as well as its predecessor, or in this case its other predecessor, and does make that, $1 billion might seem like a bomb, which obviously it isn't. And it didn't fail in the way that we are still talking about this movie. Like, how the hell did it make $1 billion? Alice in Wonderland made $1 billion. I can never understand that either.
And yet, Through the Looking Glass did not.
No, it didn't. But it's one of those things that, like, they're going to look at that, think it's somewhat of a failure, and yeah, I think they're going to pump the brakes. If we ever revisit the clone dinosaurs of Isla Nublar, I hope it's not the remake of the book or the movie. We don't need that. I just, honestly, it might be better. We found them an island. They can live there. The job is, with no villains whatsoever, we need to get them back. Something went wrong because there's a T-Rex on the loose or something. And you got to be careful because those T-Rex are like ninja. They just pop out of nowhere for every...
Yeah, I would love to see, like, if you want to do a movie about humans and dinosaurs, let's just let Jurassic Park be Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Let's find, and it can be inspired by Jurassic Park, but there's time for, like, let's break out. Like, part of the problem is it's Jurassic Park, and we have all of this Jurassic Park pressure to make it like living within this cinematic universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring back these characters because they're probably worried that there wasn't a lot of buzz about the last movie. Oh, it made a few million less than the last one, so maybe the franchise is floundering. So let's bring back the nostalgia. Here's a novel idea. Let's do a different movie about dinosaurs that has nothing to do with Michael Crichton's source material.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World review without me referencing Jurassic World King Cretaceous.
That's true.
But I don't know if you've ever paid any attention to it, Derek, but
no,
it's a 5-season show on Netflix, and the first season takes place before, during, and then just after the events of Jurassic World. And it's basically about this like kind of starter summer camp that they try to get off the ground on Isla Nublar, and they have these 6 kids that they get into trouble, but then all the events of Jurassic World happens, and these kids have got to try and band together and try to survive on this island full of dinosaurs that are trying to kill them.
And active volcanoes, Mike. Don't forget the active volcanoes.
No, the active volcano is like 3 years later. They get off the island before that, but it's really well. It's still taking the same kind of basis of Jurassic World, but it's introducing new characters, giving them their own motivations, having them in actual mortal danger, and it is, if everything you're kind of asking for, minus the not focusing on Michael Crichton's source material, it's right there. So I highly recommend it. It's really good. In fact, I'm rewatching it during my lunch breaks. Yeah,
I kind of feel like the material's right there. They just do the actual Edgar Rice Burroughs. Is it Burroughs? Who did the original Lost World?
Yeah, it was Burroughs. Yeah,
it was Burroughs.
Yeah.
Okay. I just threw that name out there. I don't know if it was actually true or not, but let's go back to that. Let's just, explorers just happen upon an island that has dinosaurs on it. No science, no, whatever. You could set it in modern times and just do something like that. And then you can still include that danger without the whole thing of, hey, how do we weaponize these? How do we alter their genetics so we can combine even the most benign dinosaur with raptor DNA? Because that's always a good idea. It's crazy. Now, Derek, we introduced this last week. I want to continue this. Whenever we discuss a movie with a villain, and in this case, the villain in question is Lewis Dodgson, played by Campbell Scott. Would they pay for Twitter Blue? Mike?
Oh, Dodgson, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Derek's shaking his head, saying yeah. All right.
100%.
I will do you one better. He created Twitter Blue.
Yeah.
I mean, he is essentially Musk, because What is the transport system for his little area there? The Hyperloop. What did Musk try to do in LA? The Hyperloop.
Was it? I thought it was Vegas that he tried the Hyperloop in, and it was like the dumbest, most antisocial thing ever.
Yeah, I know nothing of the Hyperloop.
Oh my God! You have to look up the Hyperloop. It's
based on an actual event, an actual thing that Musk was like, "Well, we should totally build this. It'll totally get rid of all the traffic." Yeah, no.
Yeah, it brings you. Essentially, it's a subway that just brings you. It goes in a loop like a subway, except you have your own little pod because he finds that people don't want to be around other people when they travel. That's what cars are for, but let's be honest, he doesn't think like the human do.
No. He may not want to be around other people when he travels. Most of us are okay.
I think
that's why he wants to go to Mars. Just him, go to Mars.
Other people don't want to be around him when they travel.
There we go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, he would definitely be the villain Dodson. He would be, if he didn't, he would be with Twitter Blue. If not, he would be the guy being like, I've got a good idea. Let's make people pay for Twitter Blue. I 100% believe that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So I love this idea. We're going to continue with this because, I think this came up because last week I was talking to Thomas about something. It was Vegas at first. They wanted to do Chicago too. Oh, God. I think it would be hilarious too if he picked a Hyperloop that was so small it doesn't get you within walking distance of either where the Cubs play or the White Sox play. Literally in between. You can get to no sporting event or hot dog cart. You are going around like the most worthless area of Chicago.
So at this point, what I really, really want to see is Elon Musk being killed by Dilophosaurus.
Well, that, maybe. All I can say is every time I see a picture of some, rich prick doing something, I'm like, this is the guy who's on the phone before the dinosaur sneaks up behind him. And you just see his legs dangling out of its mouth. That is Jared Kushner. There's so many. I can't name them all. And I don't like to get political on the show, but that's just kind of like the thing. But yeah, I don't know. Gentlemen, closing thoughts on Dominion?
Go first.
I love dinosaurs. I read Jurassic Park. I've loved that first movie. I would love to see Hollywood just moving beyond that. If you want to tell stories about dinosaurs, that's fine. But you can't forget the flesh and blood people. You've got to tell a story about human beings and their stakes, or the humanoidish character and their stakes. And this movie fails every basic structure of storytelling that I love. It fails, aside from, I think, the artistry behind the visual effects. I do think the acting talent is phenomenal. The script fails them. They don't fail the script. And I will never, ever watch this movie again.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to all 2 hours and 24 minutes of it. I agree with you, Derek. When we were talking about this has kind of been a running theme with the Jurassic World movies about the special effects. And I feel that based on just the sheer darkness of a lot of this movie, the effects look better. I brought this up when we were talking about Jurassic World. The dinosaurs just kind of look like they don't exist on that plane of existence because the entire movie takes place in the daylight. Fallen Kingdom, it's kind of a mix where they're either behind like gray and bright oranges, and then they go into the dark. And then this is almost completely dark when you see dinosaurs. They're all in like the Italian wilderness, which is a thing apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I'm glad I watched it, so now I can say I've watched it, so I can't just poo-poo it without actually having a basis to go on. I mean, yeah, I love Jeff Goldblum, and but yeah, I don't think I need to see this again unless God knows it's just like one of those things I have to do a full dinosaur marathon, but I don't see that happening anytime in my immediate future. Mike?
Yeah, not a great movie, but I had a lot of fun with it. I love Owen, I love Claire, I love Ellie, Ian, Alan. Lots of flaws in the movie, but I just had so much fun. I could look past them. When at the very end, when Owen saying goodbye to Blue and Beta, I got a little verklempt. It's it was like, because I'd spent 3 movies getting seeing their relationship, and then just seeing them him looking as they just staring at each other one last time before running off. I was like, it was a really sad moment for me, and Maisie I thought was great. I'm glad he got a redemption. I just had so much fun with this one. I like this one more than Fallen Kingdom. I think I still like Jurassic World more than this one. But at least this one didn't have a really superfluous parents getting divorced subplot.
Yeah.
You could drop that one from Jurassic World, and it would not have hurt the movie at all.
Yeah, and you know what, Mike? I can see that too with it. Just going on the popcorn aspect alone, this is more of a popcorn movie than Fallen Kingdom. Yeah. Fallen Kingdom tackles a ton of very heavy themes. Yeah, and there's a lot of death that's perpetuated by other human beings to human beings, as opposed to just dino on human death.
Yeah, the tonal shift between the two halves of Fallen Kingdom kind of throws me off a little bit.
Yeah, but it's there. It's on Amazon Prime, folks, if you want to watch it. That's that.
That's about all we have to say.
That was a great Malcolm.
Oh, one last thought. Citizens Kane is 90 minutes long. If they can do it in 90 minutes, the modern blockbuster is too long. The original Jurassic Park is 2 hours. The modern blockbuster is too long.
Derek, you're comparing modern filmmakers to
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles is his own animal. You can't compare him to anybody else. Not even Steven Spielberg.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, that was about as much as he could get before he ran out of money also, because that was all on him.
Yeah.
But no. So hey, Derek, thank you so much for joining us. We missed you. Hopefully we'll have you back. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Midnight Myth?
Yeah, my wife and I, we host the Midnight Myth podcast. We talk about history, mythology, and philosophy, and how those subjects are present in contemporary modern storytelling. Everything from TV, film, sometimes we even do theater and literature, but mostly it's TV, movies, and stuff like that. I also host the Wheel of Ka podcast, which is my Stephen King book club, where I read Stephen King books through the lens of his magnum opus, The Dark Tower. My wife is also in Sleep and Sorcery. It is a fantasy and folklore-inspired sleep story podcast. So you have trouble sleeping and you like fantasy, folklore, myth, nerdy things like that, and you want to have a little help falling to sleep, that podcast is designed to help you fall asleep, and she'll be writing a book that'll be out next year.
Congratulations, Laurel. That is awesome.
Let us know as soon as you can pre-order it, because I am totally down for that.
Yeah.
100%. We will not be shy about it.
Excellent. Excellent.
Nor should you
Thanks for having me. I love your podcast. Thank you. We've done 2 or 3 of these. I keep saying this. So Laurel and I, our other podcasts are so busy. The Midnight Myth hasn't been getting as much love as we want to do it. So, we'd love to have you both on the Midnight Myth as soon as possible.
Well, I honestly have the summer off from doing theater, so we will definitely find a time for the 2 of us to join you. I know you had mentioned a few movies, and then unfortunately, because it's just so deep in the theater thick, that it was kind of tough to remember other things that I had promised people. So we will get on that as soon as we can. I know also you got a 2-year-old at home, so
yeah,
it's way better when your kids are self-sustainable like mine. Literally, I left them upstairs to watching The Simpsons right now. So
I cannot wait for that.
that is It's so great because my daughter, who's 15, has learned there's a Simpsons quote for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, speaking of podcasts, Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can check that out wherever you get your podcasts. Google, Spotify, iTunes, Spotify, I think I said already. Yeah, wherever you get your podcasts, you can get us there. If you're on Apple, 5 stars, please. You don't even have to listen. Just give us 5 stars. It's all that matters in this crazy world. Also, you can follow us here. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. I also want to know, what are your thoughts on Dominion? Did you, like Mike and our friend Kurt, like this movie? If you did, leave a polite comment below. If you didn't like this movie, leave a polite comment below.
It looked like it pained you so much to say, like this movie. It's like, did you really like this movie? Can you like this movie?
Mike, I'm not going to promise there won't be whiskey after this. That's all I'm saying. We are also on the socials, on Twitter at Geek Salad Radio. We are now on Blue Sky at Geek Salad Radio as well. So yeah, hopefully that one catches ground. Unlike how Mastodon and Hive, also at Geek Salad Radio, showed up. I hope Blue Sky kind of picks up because I've had it up to here with Twitter. We're also on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. So next month. Oh, by the way, public service announcement. We will not be doing an episode next week. We are kind of like, we did a 3-week month this week. I'm going to be going on vacation, being completely unable to do anything. When we return in July, however, we are going to do a month of how the hell did this thing get made type movies. It was a suggestion that was brought to me. I brought it to Mike. I think we're going to have some great guests on there. Big budget movies that you're still like scratching your head. And I feel like it's pertinent now because if you saw that Craven trailer, you know where we're aiming.
When did he get that power in the comics?
You know what, Mike, you know when he got it? Never.
That explains why I didn't see it in the issues. Yeah.
I love watching Spider-Man villains with no Spider-Man. That's just great. My favorite thing.
I remember tying this whole thing back to Jurassic Park when they released the first Venom trailer, and I actually made a meme of Ian Malcolm like in the thing going, "Now, John, we're actually going to see Venom in this Venom trailer. Is this thing on?"
I really hate that man.
Well, anyway, again, Derek, thank you so much. Give my best to Laurel. And until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth, be nerdful, and watch out for those raptors. They're now in the wild. Go forth,